These people right here on the left were engaged yesterday, and then literally moments after taking this picture, a horrible tragedy occurred that was completely senseless and avoidable. A woman's fairy tale proposal on a hot air balloon turned into a tragedy after it crashed and then killed a pregnant passenger who is pictured here in the center. 27-year-old college student Gabrielle Nascimento reportedly joined her new fiance, 37-year-old engineer Tiago Campinas. This was for a 7-hour drive from their home in Rio de Janeiro to Boituva. This was in Brazil. They reportedly arrived Sunday morning at around 5 a.m. and they visited a company that offered sightseeing flights over the city in hot air balloons. However, according to reports, the two of them had kind of questioned, and the pilots were questioning going on the hot air balloon trip and whether or not the trip would take, and that was due to horrible strong winds in the area. But the group eventually boarded a flight, and they were met by employees who were blowing up 2 hot air balloons. The couple then got inside the balloon when it was blown up, and they were reportedly with 31 other passengers. The pilot was said to have assured Gabrielle, pictured here on the left with her fiance, that he was closely monitoring the rough winds with a flight device. So everything seemed normal as the hot air balloon was gliding about 328 to 492 feet in the air. It was about that time that Tiago presented Gabriella with an engagement ring, and he proposed to her on the hot air balloon. But the proposal was quickly interrupted when the pilot of the balloon started to lose control. Gabrielle said she had no clue her fiance would propose like he did, and that it was beautiful until it turned into a nightmare. She said she watched how the second balloon that flew beside her group quickly landed due to the horrible winds, but her pilot continued to fly. She said she could hear her pilot of her balloon talking on a two-way radio about continuing the hot air balloon flight. Complete negligence. It was said at that moment the balloon started to go too fast, and the pilot then tried to make the first landing possible in an orange grove. Gabrielle said she remembers seeing 4 people being injected from the hot air balloon from the basket while it was dragging across a rural field, and that's before it took flight yet again. According to reports, most of the people, including Gabrielle and her fiance, were able to get off the balloon after it landed the second time. But one lady pictured here, 27-year-old Juliana Pereira, was very badly hurt. She was also pregnant. Gabrielle said she remembers seeing Juliana in horrible pain before she was gotten to by paramedics, and they then immediately took her to a hospital, but unfortunately, she died at the hospital. First responders reportedly transferred 11 of the passengers to urgent care clinics and hospitals, but it was said they had just mild injuries or minor injuries, all except for Juliana, and hers were critical and later killed her. Gabrielle said everyone was screaming and that Juliana was horribly injured. She said that her nose was broken, she was bleeding horribly, and her jaw was split open. She was already unconscious before paramedics got to her, and her husband, pictured here, was trying his best to keep her alive. Gabrielle said at that point the pilot was also injured and that they flew for about another 15 minutes until the pilot saw a field where they fell and were swept away. According to reports, Juliana, who is pictured here, the woman who passed away, and her husband Leandro here were recently married, and they had taken the hot air balloon to celebrate Valentine's Day, which is said to be celebrated on June 12th in Brazil. It was said Juliana was a very, very loved person. Her family is now questioning the pilot's decision to continue the flight, despite what they are saying were unsafe weather conditions. They said it was completely negligent, and I agree. Now, the pilot, Fabio Pereira, ended up being arrested by the civil police on aggravated manslaughter charges and irregular ballooning activity charges. Investigators also learned during the investigation that he was licensed to perform only private flights. This is so tragic and senseless. I'm glad the pilot is being arrested, or that he was arrested, because it was completely negligent on his part and he should have to face the consequences. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. For more content, be sure to follow and subscribe over on YouTube.